We have all heard the phrase, "He who doesn't take risks doesn't drink champagne." It's a great quote, even I would say a beautiful one. But most people use it incorrectly. They use this quote just to stand out without realizing the true meaning. Only a risk-taker knows that success is celebrated with champagne. It's not just a play on words, it's a direct sequence of actions. And before we go any further, please subscribe to the channel and give it a like. Thank you. Risk. What is it? Risk is an opportunity that you have to pay for if you fail. Many people are intimidated by the word, others are enticed by it. But where's the truth? Is risk the way to the money pit or to the top? The answer will surprise you. In fact, risk leads both ways. How so? It's simple. Your path depends on the risk you take. What do I mean by that? If you take too much risk, it's foolish, because to take a big risk is to be prepared to be left with nothing if you fail, whereas a small risk will not give you much benefit, but only fray your nerves. So what to do? It's really not complicated. You need to take a moderate risk that will benefit you a lot without taking too much. I call this kind of risk an opportunity. I think many of you who want to be rich have forever heard the same phrase, the greater the risk, the greater the return. While these words are true, they do more good than harm. Tell me, what kind of person would risk $1,000,000 for $100,000 profit? I think there are such people and they are not uncommon. But we who have enough money would rather get our 3 to 7% interest per annum with little risk than a large interest with the risk of losing everything. Many of you may be afraid to take the risk, but think about it. What hurts more? The opportunity to make money or to continue living the same modest life? As the saying goes, the greatest risk is taking none. Next time, before you refuse to take a risk because of fear, think about what you gain when you succeed rather than what you lose when you fail. You create your own black line on which you walk in the hope of calmly moving to the white one. But there are cars racing on the white one, so you keep waiting for them to stop. I'm afraid you don't have enough time. We're all limited, and only risk is the only way to make the most of it. You're fixated on the idea that risk is bad or good, but risk is nothing more than a tool that helps you consider the prospects of a project. You do know that risks are everywhere. I hope you do. So, when someone is investing, they are not primarily interested in risk, but in profit. Do you understand? Risk is a tool that can be customized. Too much risk? Try changing the calculation metrics and the risk will change. Instead of taking a big risk, think about what you can do to minimize it. That's one of the basics. Averaging. Instead of risking everything at once, isn't it easier to have multiple options that differ in risk percentage? Who do you think has more peace of mind? The person who took a 60% risk, or the person who took an 80% risk and two more at 20%? I think the answer is obvious. So remember, risk is nothing more than a tool that you can use to your advantage. And now for the sweet stuff. So how do you calculate risk to know exactly the potential of a project? Here I have a few ways. Sensitivity analysis. This method allows you to evaluate how a change in one or more factors affects the outcome of the project. For example, you can change the cost of materials or the lead time and see how it affects the overall profit. Scenario analysis. This method looks at different scenarios from the most pessimistic to the most optimistic. This helps in understanding what risks may arise and how they will affect the project. Monte Carlo. Simulation. This method uses random numbers and probabilities to simulate different project outcomes. This provides a more accurate assessment of the risks and their impact on the project. Now let us present examples of successful risk and unsuccessful risk. Successful risk. Imagine you invest in a startup that is developing an innovative technology. The risk is high, but you have done a thorough analysis and are confident in the company's potential. After a few years, the startup becomes successful and your investment generates a significant return. Bad risk. You decide to invest all your savings in a high-risk project without proper analysis. The project fails and you lose all your money. This is an example of how lack of preparation and analysis can lead to disastrous consequences. But you're wondering what is considered low, medium, and high risk. Low risk. Invest in government bonds or deposits in reliable banks. The probability of losses is minimal, but the yield is low. Medium risk. Investments in shares of large companies or real estate. The risk is higher than small risk, but the potential return is also greater. High risk. Investments in startups or high-risk projects. The probability of loss is high, but the potential gains can be significant as well. I think you now understand what risk is. But what about if you are afraid to take risks? I've given a couple of tips before, but I thought I'd discuss this in more detail. After all, it's one thing to know how to take risks and another to take risks. How to get rid of your fear of risk and start taking risks. Education and training. The more you know about risk and how to manage it, the more confident you will feel. Study the literature, attend seminars, and network with experienced investors. Gradual increase in risk. Start with small risks and gradually increase them as you gain experience and confidence. This will help you get used to risks and learn how to manage them. Planning and analysis. Always do a thorough analysis and planning before taking a risk. This will help you better understand and prepare for the possible consequences. Support and mentoring. Find a mentor or support group to help you deal with your fears and give you valuable advice. Talking to people who have already been through it can be very helpful. Mental preparation. Work on your mindset and learn to deal with your fears. Practices like meditation and visualizing success can help you become more confident and determined. In fact, that's it. Thanks for watching. I hope you're not now taking crazy risks or floating on stability. You need to be willing to take matters into your own hands and put your life on the line. And once successful, refuse to take big risks. Maybe someone will be willing to risk their hard-earned wealth, but definitely not me. This is goodbye. Until the next video.